Hey everybody, welcome to the MovieScape review of Inherent Vice.
So, what happens when you have Joaquin Phoenix, Josh Brolin, Paul Thomas Anderson, Owen Wilson, and Benicio del Toro together?
A very weird time at the movies.
Absolutely. Inherent Vice is a Paul Thomas Anderson film set in a fictional hippie town of Gordita Beach, California. It stars Joaquin Phoenix as a stoner detective, Doc Fratello, and when his long-lost girlfriend Shasta Faye shows up looking for help, it then leads him on an adventure filled with drugs, sex, and hallucinations. So it should be a good movie, right?
Um, no, not at all.
Not at all.
This movie it's a bizarre film that while you're watching it, it makes you feel like you're on drugs, and not in a good way. I mean, if drugs make you confused, forgetful, and in the end, feeling like you have no idea what just happened to you, then you can keep all the drugs to yourself. This movie has a lot of talent, and it is used to make the audience want to be on something just to feel like they understand what's going on.
Yep. Inherent Vice has so many scenes that feel like a hallucination, but you don't know if Doc is actually hallucinating or the audience is. For example, most of the scenes are filmed in such a way where the beginning of the scene starts off with him smoking a lot of weed or doing another type of drug, for example, inhaling laughing gas, and then as soon as he's done drugs, something progresses and it leaves you wondering if that actually happened the way that the movie was filmed. And in the end, you're just left wondering if that was actually real or he was hallucinating.
Yeah, there's a scene where the laughing gas scene, where he starts taking notes in his notebook, and he writes down hallucinating. Now, I didn't know if he was writing that down because he thought he was hallucinating or the person he was talking to was hallucinating. So, what about the plot, you may be asking? Well, it's a very complex plot. At least, I think it was complex. It revolves around Shasta, Doc's girlfriend, coming in and asking him for help, and then it continues with him being involved in numerous other cases that are all connected back to her. Now, coincidence is one thing, but this takes it to a whole other level. Every case and every person he meets is either involved with Shasta or the other people that he's met.
So, Inherent Vice has a lot going for it. The director has made many memorable films such as Boogie Nights, There Will Be Blood, and The Master. He's good at making character studies, but the film is not memorable at all. I mean, it's a well-directed movie with many good performances by the actors, good cinematography, but the problem is not the acting or the directing. It's the convoluted story. Now, Inherent Vice is a story based off of the book of the same name written by Thomas Pynchon. I myself tried to read the book, but I just couldn't get into it the same way with the movie. It's really, really hard to get into. What drew me into this film initially were the actors and the style of the film. The 1970s vibe was done perfectly in a way which I've never seen recently.
Yeah, the cinematography was excellent in this. The look of it is very 1970s, like early 1970s. From the grainy textures to just the hazy smoke-filled rooms, Inherent Vice made me feel like it was actually made in the 70s and just recently discovered and released. And I mean, it's what a movie's cinematography should do, and it does it flawlessly. I did have an issue with the soundtrack, though. Parts of the film, it didn't mesh with the music or the song that was playing. One scene in particular made it really, really disjointed. I mean, Doc's walking down this hall just after he'd had an encounter with some Nazi bikers. So you feel like something's about to happen, and the orchestra starts building, so there's this scene of something's about to happen. He's either going to get beat up or something's going to like jump out at him or something. And the next scene is him spraying Lysol in his office to cover the smell of weed that he was smoking while he was at work. So, yeah. So, Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'm a big fan of Joaquin Phoenix. I like most of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies. I just couldn't get into this movie at all. It's just really, really long. There's too much dialogue that I didn't understand. I don't even know if I would go back and watch this movie, maybe even a few years from now. It's just, there's not a lot of story to it. There's nothing very interesting about it. I do like how it was filmed. I like the style of it. Actors did a good job, but overall, there's just not a whole lot of story that was very interesting to me. Out of 10, I'd give it a 5.
Okay. So, I would have to say this movie, as we've said before, not very memorable. It's you go in, you watch it, you either like it or you're completely baffled by it, and I was completely baffled. I mean, most movies don't go over my head, and I don't think this one even got to my head. So, yeah, cinematography, directing, acting, really, really high marks for that, but just the story and the convoluted coincidences, it just destroys it, and the disjointed sound, or disjointed soundtrack, I'd have to give it a 5 as well. 5 out of 10.
So, have you seen Inherent Vice? Did you like it? Did you understand it?
Well, let us know in the comments, and make sure you like and subscribe this video. And we'll see you next time.
What the fuck are you wearing?
I'm wearing a fucking hat and a Hawaiian shirt.
What do you say, Doc?